Bonjour and welcome to The Good, the Bad, and the Worst, the podcast where we investigate movie trilogies in a hunt to detect which one is a sweet little pastry and which one is full of the fudge. I am your host, Hercule Poirot, and probably the greatest detective in the world, and joining me are...
I'm Grana, and I tried jobs and office. I could manage the work. I just couldn't fathom mornings. But I've made ends meet as a podcaster.
And I'm Luke, and wine is where the devil finds his darlings.
All right. I was thinking of doing a French accent for this whole thing.
For the whole thing?
It's really rough on the glottal, so I'm going to bail out.
It's pretty
Really
good.
rough on the ears.
Thanks.
No.
Yeah. Ouch. Look, I practiced a lot, and I thought I got it all right, so thank you. But we're talking about none other than Kenneth Branagh's Agatha Christie's Hercule Poirot modern mystery movies, or KBACHPMMM for short. That's how we're going to title
As
it in the
it's known
podcast.
to the kids.
That's how we'll put it in the podcast feed so you can easily find it.
Yeah.
The trilogy, of course, consists of 2017's Murder on the Orient Express, 2022's Death on the Nile, and 2023's A Haunting in Venice. Now, if I put on my detective mustache, I think I can deduce that one of you liked these movies and one of you didn't.
Really?
And my guess is that Griner hated them.
Really? No,
Yeah.
that would be... You're a bad detective. How about that?
You are not as good as Hercule Poirot.
Maybe that's just part of it. I wanted you to confess.
Oh.
Does that mean that, Luke, you hated them as well, or you liked them?
I quite like these films.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah.
But I do hate the original Hercule Poirot.
I know,
from the
and I
BBC
can't...
TV series.
I can't not see his little black moustache in my head and his big round face.
Are you guys talking about none other than David Suchet?
Yes.
The easily the proper Poirot, kind of the only embodiment that really counts as canon.
Not anymore.
Oh boy! All right, that is something we're going to talk about because that is probably the dominating discourse around these movies. I think.
Can I make a really dumb confession?
Do it, man. Do what you want.
Up until quite recently, not like in the last few weeks, but in the last couple of years, I thought Agatha Christie was the character the books were about.
No, you're thinking of is it Miss Marple?
Miss Marple is her stand-in, I suppose, but for some reason I thought Agatha Christie books were about the character Agatha Christie who solved murders and was sassy. But
no, I think that's fair because there's enough. The teenage girl detective, that's a whole subgenre there.
Yeah.
Adding in Miss Marple's mysteries, which is like a lovable old lady doing it. I think I'd get behind that.
Oh, I'm glad I wasn't totally laughed out of the room for that opinion.
No, it happens. It happens. I thought Tom Clancy was the spy, so...
Yeah, fair. Okay. He just owns all the spies.
Yeah.
All right.
Lead character of Splinter Cell, Tom Clancy.
All right, let's talk some stats.
Stats.
Murder on the Orient Express, 2017 release. It's got a Metascore of 52, $55 million budget, made $352 million worldwide. Death on the Nile, 5 years later in 2022, it's a Metascore of 52 as well. Budget of $90 million, made only $137 million. And then A Haunting in Venice in 2023, Metascore of 63, budget of $60 million, made $120 million dues.
Not as much.
I was amazed at how middling the scores are for these movies. Like, fair enough, they're not, like 90s on Metacritic or something like that. But I would have expected 70s, high 60s at least.
Really?
Am I the only one with that opinion? Like, just not even before I had even watched them. Not necessarily that's my opinion of them, sorry. But before I had watched them, I thought these are movies people would respect. They've got a huge ensemble cast. Kenneth Branagh. I don't know. I think they're better than 52.
I remember when the first one was coming out and seeing because it's got a huge cast. Like
Bloody Murders, bro. Yeah.
It's an awesome cast, and I remember being like, "Oh, this is going to be like really good." And I remember the only reason I hadn't watched any of these films is every time I was like, "Oh, I should check them out," or I'm in the mood for something like that. I'd go on there and I'd see like the Rotten Tomatoes scores, and I'd be like, "Oh, that's right, they're not that good," and then would ignore them and not watch them. So yeah, I was surprised that they were this middling but yeah.
Yeah, it's the timeless problem with adaptations. Everybody wants wants what they see as the movie in their head to be this one. And I've only read one of these books. I read a Murder on the Orient Express last year. So I had no knowledge of Agatha Christie before that, but she is a very precious author to a lot of people. Poirot is an incredibly precious character to people. Like I said, David Suchet's Poirot was there for over 20 years. So like people have spent long chunks of their life with this character, with these mysteries. And even from just I haven't seen the Suchet series, so I can't say, but even the book, there's a lot of changes made. And so I think it's with that in mind, it's like, yeah, I understand why the score is pretty middling, because people who are coming in wanting an authentic Poirot won't get that. People who want a super different Poirot won't quite get that. And it just comes down to it. If you can get behind the changes that are made and the style, like if you can get behind what Branagh likes, then it works for you. And I think that's what happens if you have no exposure to this series, right? You'll probably enjoy them a lot more. Whereas if you have any previous exposure, I think, as most people do, like Agatha Christie is one of the most famous authors in the world. I think you'd come at this and be a bit more like, it's not quite correct. And like all the comments, all the discourse around it I've seen talks about that. They're like, Poirot, this is not. They're like, Branagh is not the Poirot. He's different. He's not right. It's not. This is missing the point. And so,
So is it people who just want to watch a movie and like want to watch like a Cluedo-esque like spy, not spy, but
murder mystery,
mystery sort of movie? They are the ones who would enjoy this more than someone who's knows the works of it and knows what to expect, obviously.
Let's go into talking about the first one, because that is a good question there.
I have one question first, and this has bothered me most of my life. And Conan, you are a very wise film person, so I want to ask you this. Kenneth Branagh, how did he direct this if he's in this movie?
That's a mystery that
mirrors. That's
a mystery that not even Poirot could solve on something.
Damn it!
My question is,
I'll never know.
My question is, how could Tenet star Kenneth Branagh be in this when he could have been doing kick-ass movies like that?
In Tenet?
Man,
he's in Tenet.
He's the evil Russian.
Right. True.
And this is one of my many bring-arounds, where Kenneth Branagh, even though he is Sir Kenneth Branagh, he is a contentious topic amongst people. He is not... I think a lot of old people like him, but he has made a lot of bad stuff. He is, he's a very hit and miss director, and he's a very hit and miss actor as well. And so, even though his name still carries weight, it's just for every Hamlet there is a Tenet villain.
Yeah, I feel like he's an actor and director. Like he's an icon in Hollywood that everybody knows, but nobody loves. I feel like
Yes,
I quite like him. I wouldn't say I love him. I'm not going to go out of my way to see a Kenneth Branagh film, but if he's in a movie, I'm like, that's Kenneth Branagh.
Yeah,
and that's the extent of it, right? Like,
yeah,
that's the thing. Like, I don't know. He's in a lot. Like, he's in a lot of great films. Like, Christopher Nolan helped. He's in all of Christopher Nolan's films. Like, he's in Oppenheimer. He's in Dunkirk.
He's been acting since 1981. He's been around.
Yeah, always forget that he's what's his name? Gilderoy Lockhart in
Harry Potter.
Which cracks me up. But I like him. I liked him in this role as Poirot. But
let's talk about that then. So, A Murder on the Orient Express. A train traveling through Europe is snowed in, or derailed, as it were. A mustachioed detective, Hercule Poirot, must solve it. That's the extent of this. That's the extent of all these movies, really. A murder happens, the murder must be solved. Now, Luke, you asked before about would the people who just wanted a good murder mystery be the fans of this? Like, what did you guys think of the mystery overall? Because I think it's the opposite of what you say. I think that the people who want a good mystery wouldn't like this movie.
I think this movie in particular, this is not a very good mystery.
You don't think mystery at all? Okay, go. Continue.
I was a little frustrated by this mystery. Like, it all just... I don't know. Part of me is like, am I just criticizing Agatha Christie? This is the same thing with the Romeo and Juliet last week. Like, are we just shitting on Shakespeare? Are we just shitting on Shakespeare and now I'm going to come and shit on Agatha Christie, and this has really nothing to do with Kenneth Branagh or this movie? But like, the whole conceit of everybody is involved with this past case, with this kidnapping or whatever it was, and they're out to get revenge, and it's just like so obvious. As soon as he realizes two people are involved, it's like, oh, it's just everybody is involved with this. Like it didn't feel like much of a mystery to me.
Okay, so you called it early on.
Yeah, and I'm not good at being like spotting who done it. Like, I don't want to talk about Knives Out too much, but I don't know. I feel like it's the elephant in the room when you're watching a murder mystery like this, because I don't know. I would watch that movie 10 times before I'd watch any of these again.
No,
even though I didn't hate these movies, they're just not as good as.
We can talk about Knives Out. It's kind of necessary to the conversation. Luke, did you catch that? Did you call it out? Did you see what was coming?
To be honest, I didn't. I feel like these movies, I was very, very relaxed. As in, usually I'm one. I can't even watch a damn wrestling match without being like, well, what's going to happen? Who's going to come in with a steel chair here, or this is going to happen, and that's going to happen. This one, I felt like I was just watching it, and I don't feel like I was ever like, oh, they've all got a motive. This is too weird. Like they're all going to do it. Obviously, I think when you think about it, it does seem quite like, yeah, that's the thing. But I didn't find the mystery itself that compelling. It was more just I'm watching people act, and I'm enjoying watching that. And I enjoy this setting that they're all on a train. There's a quote that Pyro says earlier on about like why he likes trains, like with all these people. And I don't know, I really like that quote where I was just like, yeah, trains are really cool. Like I like this, made me think of the before trilogy in the first movie where they're on the train for a long time. And I was just like, there is something romantic almost about like trains and all these people, passengers and stuff like that stuck in this train. But I didn't find it like, it was kind of predictable. It didn't blow me away or anything like that. But yeah, I don't feel like the mystery itself was that interesting for me to be even engaged to the point that I was trying to figure out what had happened. While Knives Out, I remember being like, oh, I don't know who could have done it. Like there's going in all these different directions. And I remember being like, oh, damn, I didn't see that coming. So, yeah.
Yeah, so it's hard to say, right? Because when I read the book, because I'm the same, I don't predict mysteries. I don't try to solve them. I go along for the ride, and I like to be. If the movie's trying to tell me to be confused, I like to be confused. When it tells me to know something, I like to know it. And so with the book, when I was reading, I had that thought. I was like, oh, is everybody in on this? And I was like, no, that's such a cliche. No one does that anymore. And then it kind of hit me. Then I'm like, oh, everyone is on this. And I had that. It's like the Seinfeld effect.
Yeah.
I'm like, is this the first time that was done? And is that why this is the most well-known mystery in the world? I didn't do any research, so I can't say for sure. But I don't know, I feel like it could be true, right? That this is why it was so revolutionary. This is why it's still lauded today, because at the time it was just like, you can't do that. And then it was this crazy reveal that everyone in here is the murderer. It's not just one. And that suffers now because we've seen things like Knives Out. We've had mysteries adapt and evolve and move on from this. Like Poirot is kind of dated. He's because he's very similar. It's a Sherlock Holmes-like character, a detective who's really good but a little bit socially awkward, a little bit of a misfit, just kicking ass and solving crimes. And all of Agatha Christie's books are just about the mystery. Like they're very slow, they're very methodical. There's very little character work. And the problem with the adaptation, right, is that most of the world knows the reveal. So how do you make a movie that's compelling when everyone knows where it's going? And that's the whole point. And so Branagh in this spends a lot of time. I think it's why he has a cast of like every famous actor you've ever seen. And he spends a lot more time sort of, I don't know, like I won't go through all the differences. There's a huge amount of changes, and I think that's why a lot of people didn't like it. But there's a lot more things like this movie's a bit more actiony. There's some emotional stuff sort of tried to be pushed in there where that's absent in the book. And I don't know, like for me, I guess it didn't work so much because it felt like, I don't know, I guess it just kind of felt like he didn't commit either way. It didn't go crazy enough and be like Knives Out. It wasn't this really fun, enjoyable mystery. It was a little bit more just methodical, but at the same time, it wasn't just a cold calculating deduction either. So I don't know, but that doesn't sound like it was a problem for you guys.
No, I didn't hate this movie. I was kind of just along for the ride. I was just enjoying the performances. I think there's some fun things Kenneth Branagh tries here. Like I liked when they first reveal the body. There's that overhead shot of the train, and it's just looking at them all looking in the doorway. And I thought that was kind of fun. And then you get the kind of the Last Supper kind of set piece at the end, which is kind of fun. But then there's things that felt really out of place to me too. Like in all of these movies, he gets a little physical at times. Like he goes on a chase, or he confronts them with the gun. And my impression is that's not the Poirot of the books, especially since he walks around with a cane and stuff. Like I feel like he's brain over brawn. He's not chasing anyone down. But I think all three of these movies have a chase scene, or at least the first two do. Stuff like that felt a little grating. I'm glad it doesn't take itself like super, super seriously. Like him waking up with the moustache guard is really funny, and there's a few other. There's like the egg meme that's kind of recurring, where he's trying to find the two perfect eggs that are the same size. Like I don't know, there's a few fun moments like that. But for the most part, I was enjoying it because I was on this ride with having all these actors there, right? Like the murder mystery wasn't that compelling. I think most of the performances are pretty good. Yeah.
You guys feel like they all got... Do you feel like the whole cast got well used?
No.
Yeah.
No, there are people that I forgot that were in it until they popped up for a scene again.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that's right. Willem Dafoe.
Yeah. Like, because, it has that, that there you'll just see every single character has an important face and say, okay, I know they're going to be important. And that kind of does the mystery a disservice because you're like, Willem Dafoe's going to have some role to play. Because why else would Willem Dafoe be in this?
Yeah.
And that's kind of a problem that I had. That I remember when the trailer dropped, and the trailer was so exciting because it's got that great scene where he's walking through the train car, and it's like got every single famous actor there. It's like, holy shit, this is going to be all these greats just acting off each other, just bantering and dialoguing. It's going to all be, and they're like, most of them aren't used.
They're not interacting that much, really.
No, I think there's not many interactions with each other. It's almost with Poirot. And even then, it's kind of like, because as of the nature of a mystery, they come up and he'll talk to one character and say, what did you do? And they'll give one piece of information that cracks the case. Like, Judi Dench does not have enough to, like, she gets 3 scenes.
No.
And it's like...
And she's great when she's on there alone.
Yeah, but you get Dame Judi Dench and you just don't do a whole lot with her. It's frustrating.
Your whole thing about it being like outdated, I think, is kind of correct. And I think that's why, obviously Knives Out takes a lot of inspiration probably from the novels and the original series. And you can tell how Rian Johnson? I think it's Ryan. I call him Rian Johnson is like a fan of that. And so he's done his own one. Does the same thing where it's this big cast and all these big actors and all this sort of stuff. And it has like a more modern lens. There was a part of me, I thought for a while, or towards the end, that they were doing like a sort of meta-narrative thing, and it was going to turn out that Johnny Depp didn't do it, but all these people like axed him and like killed him for it, kind of like reality, but they didn't decide to go with that angle.
This was before the court case.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, damn. Well, they saw it coming. I've been waiting for that up for ages. But that's the thing. I do feel like it was very much... Yeah, it wasn't as much of a mystery as what I would have liked. I didn't feel like puzzled or intrigued. There was no intrigue, really. It was like, okay, Johnny Depp's dead. Someone's killed him. But I don't see it from the whole thing, and maybe I'm misremembering because it's been a couple of weeks since I watched it, but like, what was the plan if Poirot wasn't there? Were they all just going to get there and be like, get him, and just like lynch him? Like, because they all get on there and they're playing their parts. Like Willem Dafoe is playing like a racist, and like he's, so they know they all don't just get along and all this sort of stuff. Like, what was the plan if Poirot didn't catch that train? Or was the part to have him on there as well?
No, the plan was always the same. It was to make it look like a murder. It was to do the murder, make it look like whoever it was escaped, so that when the police come and check, they go, oh, they must have gotten off and run, and they just go about their business.
They're going to just murder him and throw him off the train.
Well, no, because then they get caught.
Still murdered, though.
Yeah, but the whole point is it would have looked this way, but because of in the book, it just gets snowed in the crash. Because of that, and because they have Poirot on board, it's like, well, that undoes them. Which is a conceit, but that's that's mysteries for you, right? Mysteries are always, they would never be solved except for the detective.
Yeah.
But yeah, your point stands. Like there's kind of two ways I think to adapt these movies or these stories. There is like the BBC quiet, like ABC at 8 o'clock. You get Midsummer Murders, or you get
Yeah.
Miss Marple's, or you get David Suchet's Poirot, where it's just this mystery. It's like, oh, cool. And there is a comfort and a fun in just watching a professional solve a case, even if you know the outcome, right? There is just something fun about being like, here's a detective detecting.
My entire childhood, my parents obsessed with all them shows.
Yeah,
and honestly, I used to like have arguments with my dad about how much I hated Hercule Poirot and his stupid little mustache, and I'd be mocking him, and I'd be like, "Look at him!" I'm like, it's stupid, but I don't know. Maybe now that I'm old and I like my murder mysteries, maybe I would sit down and enjoy the old show as well. But I do want my parents' thoughts on these movies. I wonder what they would think.
Well, what'll happen now is you'll sit down and you'll watch Knives Out and Glass Onion, and you'll be like, Benoit, always solving mysteries. And then your kids will be like, this guy's silly. His accent's so over the
silly.
top. What a ridiculous detective. And you'll be like, no, it's
100%.
great. I love it. And that's how,
100%.
that's the only way. If you're not going to do an exact kind of quiet, basic adaptation, you do Knives Out, which is a lot more flashy, a lot more. It's just kind of the next evolution. It's Ryan Johnson is so inspired by these. It's just the next. It's lit like Benoit Blanc is essentially Poirot with Sherlock, but with like a modern sort of goofiness
and a Kentucky accent.
Yeah, just like but Kentucky accent instead of a Belgian accent.
Yep.
It's
Did you guys like his Belgian accent? Because I didn't mind it. My wife did not like it.
Oh, really?
She did not like it. She thought it was really bad acting, and she could tell us that. I thought it was quite soothing, and I was like, "Oh, I like hearing him talk. I like this."
I liked it.
I bought into the character.
Same.
Yeah.
I'm glad he did something. I'm glad he didn't just do British accent.
Yeah.
But it's the problem when you do an accent and you don't commit it. Like there are parts where it kind of wanes or it sounds you can't really tell, or then he really puts it on. And that's part of the fun I think that Branagh's having. Like he's like you said, Grant, he's not taking it too seriously, that he's not trying to I don't think he studied for 6 years to make sure he had the best French accent. He's just like, no, I can put it on and that's fine. But then again, if you're a perfectionist and like most people who see this probably care about the story, that would really bug you. But that's kind of the problem with this whole, like his mustache in this is so extravagantly over the top.
It's got a backstory.
Until we had a prologue about it. And
it kind of annoyed me that it kind of revealed us to the world that's the reason we grow mustaches and beards is to cover these war wounds, It spoiled it. Now they all know.
Yeah, now they know our trauma. Yeah, that's true.
Is that part of the book? Obviously, I'm guessing the whole war history with war and stuff like that. And
no, I haven't read many of them. All I know is that pretty much all the emotional weight and the backstory is invented for this. So Poirot is very much an enigmatic figure. He doesn't have a backstory. He's literally like a case of the week. He comes in, solves a crime. You learn little bits of backstory, like him going to grow vegetables in his retirement is true, and that's what they do in Haunting in Venice. But the whole war backstory, I think, is invented. The whole love that he talks to, there's none of that. Like, there's absolutely no emotional weight, which is, again, kind of it's a necessary addition that they bring in this, like adding in that emotional backstory. And at the end, when he gets really emotional, he's like screaming at them about deciding what to do. Like, that's not how it goes. In the book, it's just like, cool. You guys decide what to do. I've solved the case. I'm out. He is very much like a detached kind of just a force of nature, but with no concern about.
He's not like, you must kill me because I will dob on you.
No, that's completely fabricated. Like in the book, he literally is like, okay, justice has been served. You guys have got to decide. I'm going to get off at the next stop. It's like, that was simple. But I don't know, did that work for you guys?
I was going to say, like, I wonder, could this movie be made and you keep him enigmatic and then you put all the emotional weight on the characters, right? Like, have your ensemble cast carry that side of it. And part of me kind of wonders if that wouldn't be better. Like, I do feel like it's kind of... It can be a little indulgent with Poirot and like digging into his past, especially in the second one. I think we'll get to it, but
Yeah.
He wants to say a lot about love, but doesn't have a whole lot to say, I think, potentially.
Yeah. I guess the question is then, do you tell the movie from a different point of view? Or is it like, does he become Jack Sparrow, right? Where he's the second year character who's motivating it all? Because taking Knives Out as the example,
Yeah.
when Benoit is not the protagonist in Knives Out, Anna de Armas is.
Yeah.
And that works because you're invested in her more.
Yeah.
So I guess, and then that's, that would have a whole other contingent being like, that's sacrilegious to have a Poirot mystery that's not Poirot's point of view. So I don't know.
Should have been told from Willem Dafoe's perspective, honestly. with his German accent.
Spouting racism for an hour and a half. It's like, surprise, it was an actor here.
You actually think you're watching this racist character. You're like, why should I be supporting this dude? It's just like, oh, God, the act's been hard. Even when I'm monologuing at home and I'm being racist.
That's the mystery, is that why should we relate to him? And then solves it. All right. Do you guys have anything else to say about Murder on the Orient Express? Did you guys expect this to be as big a hit? Like $350 million. That's big earnings.
Yeah.
It's a big cast, and I feel like it was promoted a lot. I remember seeing trailers for it every time I went to the cinema that was coming out. And I feel like it did well at the box office, but I always had this belief that it hadn't done well. I felt like it's a film that I don't hear talked about much.
Well, I think that's because of the second movie. Segue. Sorry, do you guys have anything else you want to add?
No.
It's my turn to stab Cassetti. My turn.
Another example, a good idea in book form.
It kind of feels really strange.
Yeah, when you're watching every character.
And you're like, these guys are sick, man. He's dead. Just leave it be.
Yeah. But segue into Death on the Nile. A very rich lady is murdered on her honeymoon boat traveling down the Nile River. Mustachio detective must solve it. There is if the first one had murderer's row of good actors, this one has a murderer's row of problematic actors.
I know. I was going to say the same thing. It's quite a problematic cast. This one. It's interesting. I don't feel like any of them are like outright cancelled. Totally. Maybe you guys disagree.
Quite a few.
I mean, some of them has happened since this movie, but some of them were before this movie. Like Armie Hammer is like a very strange dude. Pretty well cancelled, I think, but
he's
alrighty with this movie.
Gal Gadot is controversial.
Yep.
So she's not cancelled. She's just like no one likes her.
I mean, she's cancelled on Twitter, so.
Well, she's cancelled, but not for being problematic. She's cancelled for being just like she's kind of like a Gwyneth Paltrow cancelled, which is this completely detached from reality rich person. And so no one likes...
it's not just that, though.
It's a lot more Palestine and
Israel.
The Israel
stuff,
and history in the war,
and
military background, and that sort of stuff.
Yeah, okay.
And then you've got Russell Brand, a sex
Yeah.
pest.
Russell Brand, yep.
So that's...
I want to ask you about Russell Brand, but it's not appropriate to do here, Luke. I'll ask you about it later.
And Letitia Wright as well.
Yeah.
So
why is she? Wait, why is she?
She's anti-vax.
There's a lot of anti-vax stuff on set of Black Panther.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
So it's literally like the full main cast is like people who are quite cancelled and now. But
I mean, I don't know if she's cancelled. She's still getting
but
well, like I said, I don't think any of these guys are like fully cancelled. Russell Brand, maybe.
Russell
probably.
Brand is
Armie Hammer and Russell Brand. Like Armie Hammer's disappeared.
But his problems were before this movie.
Before this movie?
No. So this movie, that's the interesting. This movie was in development since I think 2018 or 19. So this is what's super interesting about it, is this movie is been cursed because this was in development long before it came out, but it was shelved because of the controversies with Armie Hammer, and so there was a lot.
Okay, right.
So
I thought it was the pandemic.
No, so that happened as well. So this is what they were doing. This stuff started coming out with Armie Hammer about having a taste for people.
Yeah,
all the scenes where he's like kissing Gal Gadot. I'm like, careful, he's going to eat her in a minute.
Yep.
But so this started coming out. The movie got delayed because like, oh crap, what are we going to do? There was talk of reshoots. I think there was some reshoots. There was attempts at, I think there was like refilming and stuff done to try to reduce his screen time. Then the pandemic happened, and they delayed it again, and that's why there's a 5-year delay.
I was wondering about that actually, and now I'm seeing all these articles that's like, did Armie Hammer's scandal sink Death on the Nile? And
like, this movie was cursed with stuff like that. And then Russell Brand stuff I think came out. When did that come out?
Recently,
2 years ago at the most. I think
last year. It was last year.
Yeah, that's what I thought. So I think he missed it, and then Gal Gadot's political leanings and potentially problematic past was also after, but. During COVID, they did that stupid song where she was, and so she was. It kind of just added fuel to it. So just added
united us as a planet.
Yes. Really, it really helped me get through the pandemic. I'll tell you what.
Yeah,
100%.
So watching this movie's kind of an interesting piece of history now. Where the whole time watching it, I was like, this is a perfect storm of bad luck. And just at the time, probably good casting choices. Like Armie Hammer is a really good actor. In this he's really good, like in The Social Network he's fantastic.
Yeah.
But it's kind of hard to separate him now from that. And then just knowing all these problems, and that's kind of I think the CGI in this movie is pretty bad. There's some scenes of Egypt.
It's really distracting.
It looked really not nice.
You can tell they didn't film a single thing on location. Like everything is a green screen and they're standing like the stuff with the pyramids and the kite and just like it was annoying because it's like, okay, I get that there should be CGI and this sort of stuff when you're doing something that should be out of this world or it's a bit fantastical. Like a mystery crime thriller shouldn't have this much CGI and backdrops unless like, and it's just distracting. Like every scene I was just like, this is annoying. Like this is why the train was so much better. Like I missed the train because it was just all these people in a room, Yeah. It's just, trying too much.
Yeah. Because they had a lot of CGI and murder on the Orient Express as well, but like you say, it's not as distracting because you're always in rooms and it's just a white background. So you never, except for like one or two scenes, you don't really notice anything. Whereas in this, there is so much where they're on the deck staring at Egypt, and you're just like, that's the colors there are wrong. This just feels weird.
Yeah.
But then also there's things like this movie is so long. This movie
is very long.
Feels long. Like it feels way too long. Like
over 2 hours.
I feel like it's an hour before Gal Gadot finally dies, and then it's like
it is. Okay. I had that point. Like the murder is the turning point. So there is an hour spent of building up the backstory. I'm like, that is a weird way to tell a mystery. Like someone's going to die. Title is Death on the Nile. And you spend an hour kind of just walking around being like, who's going to die or when?
Where is the death on the Nile?
And
Where is the death?
And like you say, Griner, there's so much talk about love in that, and sort of there's a lot of time spent with, I think it's Book. I always call it Bok, but
Book.
Him and Poirot talking about love and romance, and it's just I don't know. Do you think that's just to try to humanize the character, or you think it's? I don't know. I don't really get the point of it.
I think they tried something and it just misses. Like I'm not really sure exactly what they're going for. I kind of like this movie overall though. Like I don't know. Okay. I actually kind of enjoyed this one. But you're right. It's way too long. It takes way too long to get to the death. But I did find the mystery a lot more intriguing than Murder on the Orient Express.
Yeah. Okay.
Like I was genuinely like curious who had done it and who killed my boy Bok.
Yeah. So after that, just add that in. In the book, Bok's not in it at all. I think he's only in
the book.
No, he's only in Orient Express. I think.
Yeah.
Oh, so you're doing a bad pun. Sorry.
Yeah, sorry.
I get what you're doing now. So adding him in this and then killing him is is a creation of this to add that emotional heft, which I don't know. Knowing that just kind of irks me.
Though? For me, that works. In this movie, like it feels weird that he's there in some ways, and he is kind of like an info dump character. Like there's that moment at the party where he's like, "This is her sister, and this is her brother, and this is the man she grew up with, who's her friend and is a lawyer now, or whatever." Like it's he's very much the guy in the know and just an info dump. But I like him, and I was sad to see him die.
And I like Kenneth Branagh's like reaction when he dies. Like there's something very humanizing about, he's grilling this person and interrogating and stuff like that, and it's just this like a real timid like, oh no, like you've been shot, like you're dead in front of me sort of thing. And it's kind of sad.
I really like that whole scene, like where he's going in on his friend. It just feels it feels raw. I don't know. I enjoyed it.
No, I agree. And like this is all of their stuff is good in the movie. I think what my point was is it kind of frustrates me when it's just like I don't know, it frustrates me that becomes such a pivotal part of this version of the movie, of being like their relationship. It spends so much time building on them being like they have this incredible friendship and they're talking about love and it kind of feels like the old.
Maybe that's after like they cut all the scenes of Armie Hammer like eating people and they're like, oh, this is kind of bad.
Like the problem,
we can't do this anymore.
This is problematic.
the whole cannibalism survival on the boat.
Maybe they add a book in, which is why the CGI is that bad with him on a pyramid, because he's like, hey, I'm here now, guys. Look at me.
The original script, there's none of it. It's just the mistake. Army is just eating people, and they're like, "We're going to solve this cannibal case."
Shit, we really got him hooked on something, guys.
That's why he took the role so happy. He's like, "Yeah, I'll take any cannibal movie you guys are making."
Yeah, like, what are the odds?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't think I like this movie. I didn't hate it as much as some of the other reviews and takes have been, because I think a lot of people hate it because of the meta film stuff. All the other things going outside of it. As a movie, it is like these movies all have a really good flavor. Like they're just kind of comforting mysteries. They're like I said, they
know
don't.
What you mean?
Yeah, like you said, look, you just sort of put it on. You just chill out. You're along for the ride. You're not trying to solve it, but you're also not like they're also just kind of interesting enough to keep your attention, I think.
But I feel like it's weird. This is a weird movie because Granagh's right, as in I enjoyed this film. But I also feel like I enjoyed at least the least of the three of them. But I was more intrigued by this than the other two, and found like the actual case. I feel like the second half of this movie I probably enjoyed more than the first half.
Yeah, maybe
it didn't feel so long. I enjoyed when they were on the boat and like the mystery around it after it happened, and then especially when this has stakes where more characters are dying as it goes on, and it feels more. Oh shit! Now she's dead too. Like, what's happening? Like, so yeah, I enjoyed it, but there's definitely a lot of fat that they could have cut out of this.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. I think if they'd cut like 40 minutes out of the first act, even, and just like he turns up to the party and he's like really quickly on the boat and bam, there's a murder, I'm there for it, because the mystery is quite interesting. And the fact that they could, I think it's like 3 or 4 people get killed. I was like, it just keeps ramping it up. And like, when is this going to stop? That really works. It's just like the dance scene at the beginning where you see where Gal Gadot walks down, and there's like Walker's just sort of giving information. He's like, oh, this is who this person. I'm like, holy shit, it drags. It's like you can tell me this on the boat. You don't need to just have this weird scene.
And it's not like we need to care about their like they're together for 6 weeks. Like we don't need to spend 40 minutes in the film about a 6-week relationship before they get married. Like
exactly. Yeah. What did you guys think of Gal Gadot in this? Like her performance overall?
I quite liked her. I'm not like the biggest fan of her in general. I think she can be kind of stiff and wooden, but I didn't super feel that in this movie.
Okay.
Personally, do I buy her as a love interest? Not as much as a like businesswoman, but
yeah, okay,
yeah. Like she doesn't seem very interesting. Like, as in Emma, is it Emma Mackey or
McKay?
McKay,
yeah.
Like, she's kind of got more charisma in a way. Like, I feel like, when she's on screen, she's much more interesting than Gal Gadot. So unless Armie Hammer's just looking for a body to eat, like, I don't know what he's like ditching her to go there and being obsessed to. But obviously, I mean, it's all a ploy, so then it just was the whole thing. But
a good question: does physical appearance dictate a cannibal's desire?
This question is too big for this podcast.
Oh, I think it's.
We need to get a guest on for this.
Like who?
There's some people around.
There's some fine young.
We need to get the guy that played Armie Hammer's twin in The Social Network. If we can get him on,
Who looked identical to him.
I know.
It's,
He might be able to shed some light on it.
that poor guy is really living in the shadow of his brother. No, I think you're right. Like Amy McKay is actually a lot more interesting in this, and like she seems like a true actor. I don't know, something about Gal Gadot. I found her
It's very
performance in this.
wooden and stiff.
Yeah,
Like
I
Grona
found it
nailed
wooden
it.
in this.
Like
The scene where she kind of marches down with a smirk, and everyone's meant to be like, "Wow!" I'm like, we get it. She's attractive, but there is zero else there. There's just nothing. Like all of her deliveries are so strange in this. They feel like she's. I don't know. They feel like she's reading from a teleprompter, or she's giving like a perfume commercial.
well, that line. There's like the meme where she says the line, and she's like, "Enough champagne to fill the Nile." It's literally a commercial. Like it's
So
you
bad.
put
Yeah.
that. I feel like it's even filmed like one, and people made a meme out of her line delivery with that because it feels so infomercial. Of like, oh look, I'm selling this thing. Like it's and watching it, I was distracted by. I was like, that's really weird. I felt like I just watched an ad, like the delivery of that line. So she's never been anything where I'm like, man, she's a really good actress. Like ever.
No, yeah. I don't think she's ever. I don't think she's given a great performance. I shouldn't know if she's ever even given a good performance. Like
no, like without the Wonder Woman theme, nothing.
Well, that's really that's
nothing.
kind of that's exactly.
And there was
that's
no
the
Hans Zimmer on this. There was no Hans Zimmer theme playing as she walked downstairs.
carrying it. That's that score carries the movie. Yeah, I don't know. And like this movie is centered on her for the whole first half, so I just found it very. For me, it really kind of prevented me from getting into it. I think because I don't know because Arnie's there acting his heart out.
Which it sounds really bad when we're like, oh, we enjoyed the movie once she died. And from there on, we're off to the races. It was much more entertaining.
But compare that to Orient Express, where I think Johnny Depp's performance was really good with what little he had. Like he has 3 scenes, and I think he plays it really well. And then to kill him off, you're like, God, I want to see more of this guy. And you become that invests you, or that interests you, because who is this character? He seemed a bit well-rounded and kind of compelling. And all the best performances, you're left wanting more. Whereas you get so much of Gal Gadot.
You don't feel sympathy for Gal Gadot. Like she's not like a sympathetic person or character where you're like, you're rooting for her. It's just like, even when she's about to sign the dodgy contracts and get ripped off, you're just like, okay, go for it.
You're like, yeah.
I don't care if she's been taken advantage of, whatever.
Eat the rich, Army. Eat them.
Exactly. Hey, wait. There you go.
There it is.
Maybe I'm the only one who can feel empathy for a beautiful woman. So just must be.
I know, my incel energy is just...
Yeah, bunch of incels.
It's floating. I'm sorry, I just don't support Israel and what they're doing.
That's what it truly comes back
to. And I take that stand publicly.
All right, let's move on to the next movie.
Yeah, I just want to say, Rose Leslie getting her body being dragged up in the...
it was messed up.
Yeah, that's... Like, there's a few moments like this, especially in the next one, but like kind of shocking violence that you kind of don't expect. Like the violence is very downplayed, especially in the first one. But even Gal Gadot's death is not violent, and then or gruesome, and then you get moments like that.
And it's caught me off guard.
Yeah.
No, I agree. It just kind of left me also wanting more. Like I kind of wanted a bit more of that, but
yeah,
we do get a third movie where things ramp up. Any other thoughts on Death on Nile?
No.
All right, cool. Moving on. Haunting in Venice. A medium performs a seance one dark Hallows Eve, and when murders occur, it raises questions about if it's supernatural or not. Mustachioed detective must detect. This was the most exciting movie for me coming into it. I was really keen to watch this one.
Me too.
This is horror.
And like the trailer, I remember made it look a lot more, and it just looked different. It was a detective story, but had a supernatural bent. And I was like, exactly. Like it was a change from the usual. It's not just this is a different setting. It's like, no, this is like a horror detective one. Well, that's cool. That's a great. I love horror, but it just seemed a lot more intriguing. The trailer just made it look really good, and I wasn't disappointed. This movie was. I really liked this movie. What did you guys think? Not so much. Okay.
I don't know. I've. I
Was
kind
it
of
too scary for you?
Yeah,
Was it a bit
it
spooky?
was. No, I feel like it tried to be scary, and I don't know that it super succeeded a lot of the times. And then this movie put me to sleep, if I'm totally honest. Yeah, I just kind of got bored by this movie a little bit.
Yeah. Okay.
What else do I have to say about it? Michelle Yeoh's death was very gruesome. Like, I enjoyed that.
Yeah.
Like, that came out of nowhere. But I had kind of wished that this movie wouldn't have any deaths at all. What if he just solved the psychic and how she was doing things? That could be fun, but we don't get that movie. I mean, I don't think he can really do a whole movie of that, but he wraps it up too quickly. He goes and finds the dude in the chimney.
Yeah.
See, I like that. I like the fact that it's like, it feels like it's going to be that. It starts off as like, this is a mystery about busting a medium and a spiritualist. And then he does that in 20 minutes and he's like, no, you're fake. But then it's like, oh, no, wait, there's something else going on here. Let's say, Luke, what did you think?
I mean, so that's the thing. It was strange where I was kind of intrigued, but I felt like I knew they weren't going to do anything supernatural. Like, I was like, it's not going to turn out like, oh, ghosts are real and that's who done this, you know? So without that, it was kind of just like, okay, what's going on? I don't think I picked up on the poison stuff that she uses. I'm struggling to remember this movie. That's the thing. Like, I've watched this one later than the other two, like more recently, and I feel like it kind of just breezed by, and then I remember the other two way more than this one.
Really?
Yeah, just personally, I don't know. It was interesting, and I was kind of intrigued. The kid was cool. Like, he was kind of creepy with his stuff. Obviously the dad with like the PTSD and the kid completely looking after him. And it's pretty messed up. Poor Poirot just wanted to bob for apples and gets drowned. They'll teach him acting a fool. But I don't know. There's just something about it that I didn't find it memorable.
That's so interesting. Yeah, that's so interesting. Okay.
Did you like, so obviously, was this your favorite? Or
yeah, easily my favorite. I think out of the three. I don't know. I'm trying to think of all the. All right, what did I like about it?
Did you like the cast?
I think the smaller cast was a good choice. It's very hard to obviously make a well-paced movie that has 30 like Orient Express, 20 actors in it, all really big. None of them are used well enough. Whereas this has like, does the old rug pull with Michelle Yeoh, where she dies pretty early on, and then you've only got a hair to deal with. And they're not as big actors, but like you got Tina Fey, I think, giving a really good performance. So I thought that was really good. This movie, I think the emotional weight is a lot better in this because it's dealing with a bit of an older Poirot, but he's kind of trying to figure out. He's like, is there something supernatural that I can't figure out? Like, will this undo my entire life's work if I can't solve this case? Is it just because I'm getting old? Is there actually something supernatural that I can't figure out? And he's, it still goes back to the old well of his old life, but it doesn't spend time where he's just like, oh, what is love? I can never love again. It's just a bit more like, yeah, life sucks, and all you can do is solve crimes.
And that's the thing. It feels like the most that he's like not in control, and he's kind of losing it a bit and being like, not as confident. Like he's firm in his things, but you can tell it's like shaky. That he's trying to tell himself that he believes in this. And
I find that that all that emotion, like that gives a proper emotional weight to why we're following him. Where he might not be right, and he's feeling a little bit more washed up, and his past is he's got a dark past, but he's not just wistfully monologuing about it. It's a lot more this, I'm never going to love again because she died. That sucks. But then also, I think this one's just the most interesting to look at. Like, there's so many stupid angles. There are so many Dutch angles. There's so many bizarre perspectives. This feels like what I think he was always trying to do, where he was trying to have a bit more fun with the character. He was trying to make the movies a little bit more interesting and like action-y, where there's something exciting to keep the viewer invested. I think that this movie does that really well, where every shot is kind of strange, and you're like, why is he doing that? Why would you choose that angle? why am I looking at this from this bizarre, from this shelf up here on a crooked lens?
Mm.
And that makes you feel uneasy as well. It makes you naturally feel a bit on edge, which I think is a good way to communicate how Poirot's feeling. But then at the same time, it's not trying to be super serious horror. It's still kind of fun, and like even when Michelle Yeoh's getting spun around, it's like the camera's shaking really over the top. So it feels a bit scary, but it's also not like it feels almost like good horror comedy where it's never trying to tell you that you're watching a horror movie. You're still watching a Branagh Poirot with some horror elements. And I don't know, the fusion works for me. But if it doesn't for you guys, it's fine, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know. Something about it just didn't hit.
Well, what about the mystery itself?
I feel like it lost its comfort to me. And I think it was even you, Conan, earlier. I came away from it, and while not thinking, oh, these are great films, but I remember coming out of the first two, and I was just like, man, there's something comforting about these films where I feel like I could just sit there and watch this like mystery and just be like, oh, yay, the detective with the accent solved it. And this one, I mean, on purpose, obviously, I feel like loses that comfort where it's like, and probably to do with Poirot being out of control and like the horror setting and stuff like that. But I feel like that was its strongest charm for me. So like losing that, it lost the main important thing for me.
Yeah, okay, that's fair, I guess. Grana, what did you think of the actual mystery?
I don't know. Like it just didn't grab me. Like nothing about this mystery really. Like the thing I was most excited for was him solving the case of whether she was truly a medium or not. Right?
Same.
Like, his friend's there, and she's like, I can't figure this out, and I'm smarter than you. But he figures it out in 5 seconds, and then they don't really do anything else with it. And it's not. And then there's hallucinations and stuff, which I don't know.
Because it's the thing. It's the opposite of Death of the Nile. The first half, I feel like I was really on board with.
Yeah.
When she comes up to him and she's like, you need to solve this. And it's like, oh, it's Halloween. And there's kids in the house and they're telling these stories. I was like, okay, cool. This is cool. I'm intrigued by this. But then it just lost it for me. And I wasn't invested anymore or trying to figure out anything really for me.
So even when people just start dying left and right, doctors impaling himself on knives, you're just like, oh, who cares? Doesn't matter.
Like, whatever, man. It's a haunted house. Of course,
what's happened here? But then Gal Gadot gets one bullet to the head, and you're like, we need to solve this.
She's rich.
That's what she's
and
rich
beautiful.
and pretty. Yeah, he's like, yes.
And on board with a bunch of predators.
we need to spend billions of dollars rescuing her.
But I do feel like, and it's hard to critique it for this, but the others, because they have such a focus on these casts, and it's like all these big name actors, it's like, okay, what is that actor doing? Because you know that actor. What is this one? This one, it just feels, I know who they are, but I don't feel like anybody goes, oh, it's Jamie Dornan, or anything like that. I did that. Yeah, because you're a 50 Shades fan, but like for the most other people, it's just like, okay, what? I wasn't invested in anybody, and I feel like
I agree.
I feel like
but I feel like with the other ones, even though the characters themselves aren't interesting, the fact that the actors are behind them, I'm still kind of intrigued in them people.
No, that's nuts.
Michelle Yeoh was the most interesting person, and she died like half an hour in.
Oscar winner because she's won an Oscar. And you're just like, she has more value because she has
star power, and that's all I care about in movies.
I can tell. All right, what if Jamie
This movie
Dornan
does lack the star power of the others, for sure.
Massively.
Without a doubt. Like, you can see it. The first one's got every famous actor who wants to do it. Second one, he's like, there's a few more problematic ones that aren't as famous. And this one is, I don't want to say scraping the barrel, that's mean, but yeah, it's not.
In a phase, it's biggest star.
No, Michelle Yeoh, but
yeah.
Yeah. And then I'm trying to think because it's got the Italian from John Wick 2, which I really found funny. And then Jamie Dornan is basically like Jamie Dornan's kind of like a poor man's Henry Cavill.
Well, yeah.
I think that
I would be more interested in this movie if it was Henry Cavill.
100%.
I can't lie.
I was going to ask that. If he was in here, would you guys just feel like best movie of the year?
Yeah.
This movie is so good. This is so good.
That's crazy to me. That's a trick that they definitely gets played by having famous actors. You naturally they must be important.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think all the characters in this are actually characters. In the first two, they're not. Like going
I
back
don't
to
remember
Death on the
any of
Nile.
them.
So, but you're gonna say Russell Brand on Death of the Nile. You remember him? Besides the
Yes.
fact that it's Russell Brand.
Yes.
I do remember.
I-
Just because it's a trick doesn't mean it doesn't work. Doesn't mean it's not effective.
But it's not effective. Like none of the characters in Death of the Nile are good characters.
Luke and I are saying it is. I think you're outvoted, Cody.
Oh, okay, sorry. Sorry, I forgot facts don't matter if the majority opinion says something.
That's right.
Or you guys would support
How
predators.
convenient is it that every time someone's murdered, there's also a doctor around to do the autopsy?
If you gotta poke holes at how these mysteries work, all right, you'll fill it with more than Swiss cheese. Like, yes, there's tropes.
Look, if I'm honest, I probably need to watch this third movie again. I won't, but there's just, I don't know, there's something about it didn't grab me. It was putting me to sleep. I was really struggling to focus on them. Like, the mystery didn't grab me. I think I never like when something... I get frustrated when something tries to toy with supernatural stuff, but then writes it off as like a hallucination or a...
We have talked about this a lot.
We've talked about this before, and it frustrates me every time.
Yeah, like, and that is fair.
Either make it really supernatural or at least give me something tangible to latch onto. Don't make it a hallucination. That is the worst answer for it.
So did the supernatural exist, though? Because we see the ghost of the daughter at the end.
I know.
Grab
He
Kelly
hears the
Riley.
voices throughout the movie.
Yeah, like, we got to think of this.
I also don't think that suits Poirot, right? Like, that doesn't suit, this man of logic and deduction. And I realize that's the kind of thing they're playing off, but...
So do you think that, do you think that's a problem with the movie, or more that's just you don't like you don't like that trope in general?
Probably. I don't like that trope in general.
I mean, it's unique because there's not many movies that would do mystery, like, with logic-based stuff and, like, supernatural. And maybe there's a reason for it.
But I think we do get that in, like, this is a weird example, but the X-Files, I think, does that. And I think I'm way more on board with what the X-Files does than what this movie's doing.
That's fair, yeah. I guess the X-Files is, because you're right, because the X-Files does that thing where it shows you that it is true. And then it shows you something is true, supernatural, but then it gives you a way to say maybe it was just like maybe it was a fluke, or maybe it wasn't supernatural. Whereas this is kind of the other way. It's like it shows you that it's not true, but it teases you with saying maybe it's supernatural.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's interesting.
In the X-Files, I can latch on to something. I can latch on to that, that was just very lucky, or it was this weird disease that came out of Africa, or, whatever the thing of the week is. But
yeah.
In this, there's nothing for me to like. I can't latch onto a hallucination.
That's fair. And like again, a hallucination from a certain type of honey would have been pretty groundbreaking reveal in
a book in 1800s.
1938.
Yeah, I'm just googling when this was released.
Maybe what would have made this interesting if, like, Ed and Lorraine Warren were here and, like, trying to solve if this was like an exorcist.
If there had been
thing.
some kind of, like, steampunk animatronics that was causing all of the supernatural stuff, I'm on board. I'm there. Inject it straight into my veins. But
And Kelly Riley's just like riding a bike in the room to operate it or something.
yeah, absolutely.
Right, okay.
And Poirot solves all that and then walks away at the end, and he's just like, haha, supernatural stuff does not exist.
And then his arm turns into a steampunk cannon and he shoots his way out. I love it. Yeah, like
1969.
I'd remember that.
I'd
remember that.
I'd remember that, yeah. Like 1969, so this would have been a lot more compelling than you are, right? X-Files is a good example of this best combination yet. The supernatural and the detective procedural in kind of like a perfect marriage.
Should have got them two for star power in this movie. That would have made it more interesting too.
That would have been a sick casting choice, right?
It would have.
Yeah.
Who would you go? I guess have David Duchovny as the doctor.
Absolutely.
Have Gillian Anderson. I don't know, is Anderson Tina Fey, or is it Anderson the killer? Oh, I guess she could be the nun.
Could be Michelle Yeoh.
Yeah, actually, that's
it. Could be the medium.
Yeah.
She dies.
There we go. We fixed the movie.
No, this movie's fixed.
It's all casting.
And Metascore agrees with me. 63.
You're right. It does.
What about
it
the box
absolutely
office?
Does.
Yeah.
That's why I was excited about this movie. I'm like, oh, this is the one where like the scores are going up. This is going to be the movie.
But
Yeah.
it bombed though at the box office. Is it considered a bomb? Do you think? I don't
It
think we get
made
another
well.
one.
It did a lot. That was my question. It did a lot better than Death on the Nile, but that's kind of an unfair comparison because of all the stuff that went on. But 60 million to 120 million, probably considered a bomb. I don't know much about the financials on
I
this.
don't think that's like hugely out of line for this kind of movie.
No, yeah. Like the first one was definitely an outlier.
Yeah.
Like 2017 was a different time to go to the movies.
Yeah.
But then, do you guys reckon we get another one after this? Like, do you
There's
think
a lot of articles that are saying how the sluggish start for A Haunting in Venice may have signaled the death of this series, but I don't know. Like return on investments and stuff like that, it's not massive.
No, you're saying like the franchise potential is dwindling. Like this would have kind of shown that maybe this isn't the juggernaut we thought it would be 6 years ago. But I don't know. I kind of hope we do. Like I like, even though we're already getting more Knives Out. I wish we got more Knives Out each year, but I kind of like this as a good interim, right? As just I don't know, because I enjoy this. It's just always get together a few good actors. Have a fairly interesting mystery.
Yeah, my wife and I had a good time watching these movies. By all means, but I don't know. The whole time I'm watching it, like Knives Out is like the elephant in the room of like I should just be watching that instead of I should watch that 3 times. Instead
Oh,
of
I really want to watch that again.
Yeah,
yeah.
But so Knives Out though is also like a comedy, right?
Yes.
I would say first and foremost.
Yep.
But it does the mystery better.
It does, like, yeah.
I don't think there's anything these movies do better than Knives Out.
The Knives Out. So the only thing I would say, like, I would come to this for a different tone. Like, you come to Knives Out for a fun like a very fun mystery where it is kind of like you're aware that you're watching a mystery. That's what those movies are on. Like, they know what they are. They know Benoit is kind of like a parody.
Who done it?
Yeah, like, and it's just really compelling to watch that unfold and see these actors act off each other. Whereas these ones are a little bit more tonally serious and more about the mystery itself. I mean, I'm not. Yeah, if I had to choose one, it would definitely be Knives Out. But I've got enough love in my heart for both.
You don't have to choose. You can watch them all.
You can have both.
Do you think these are like a passion project for Kenneth Branagh? Because I do feel like he does have a love for the source material. Like, I feel like he's doing this for the love of it, and the big dump load of money he probably
and the paychecks by being director and actor.
Yeah.
And you're getting to do an accent. That's his main motivation.
I mean, I love it.
He loves his accents, man. He's got one in Tenet. He's Russian in that.
Got a Russian accent that's also not great, but oh yeah, Kenneth Branagh's great. I think these feel pretty passionate. Even though he changes a lot, it feels like he probably read these as a kid, loved them, and he's like, I would love to see this version of Poirot. Which I respect. Adaptation needs to be different to be relevant. And I do feel like all these movies, they don't feel like cheap cash grabs. They don't feel like he was just hired to make something and it's like, you had to pay that. It feels like he did enjoy making them all and he's trying to do something with them. Returns are different on each one, but I don't think we get another one, but that's kind of sad. I do hope we get more. Are you guys compelled to read any Agatha Christie books after watching this?
I was actually curious. Like, I did look into her a little bit because I didn't know anything about her. I thought she was a character in the books, like I said, not the author. It was interesting, like, to read that she kind of got over Poirot. Like, she described him as, like, this arrogant bull of a man or something like that. But then got really protective again of him later in life and stuff. But, I really worry if I read them, I would be like, it's the Seinfeld effect. This is just, I've read this before. I've seen this before. I've read this before.
Yeah.
Not going to do a lot for me.
Yeah, they are definitely books that I feel a lot of our parents' generation read the crap out of them, or when they were a lot more relevant. And I don't know. Yeah, I don't know anyone who's really read these books, especially not anyone our age. But and that's a pretty small sample size, so I don't know. But I mean, I read one, and I don't know if I'm definitely not compelled enough to read many more. I might give 1 or 2 a go, but it's not like because there's 20 or 30.
Pretty prolific, yeah. There's a
Jeez,
few
yeah.
out there.
But there's no way that I'm like, yeah, I need to read some more of that.
Got to get into his short stories, man. That's where the real meat is.
Yeah, you're probably right. They'll do that.
But I mean, I was just going to say, I was going to transition it, but you're the host, so
No, take it away. Take it away.
I was going to say, but I mean,
my book.
Agatha Christie, eat your heart out. If you are wanting to read some books, the sponsor of this podcast.
We're not even at the end yet. It's already
I know, that's why I didn't want to transition.
No, that's
It was a perfect transition.
But this is good. I like this paid promotion inside the podcast.
Yes, it's in the middle. We're not waiting to the end because it doesn't deserve to be at the end. It deserves to be right bang in the middle of the podcast.
Right. It's lots of good mysteries. Grant also hates my use of the supernatural in these.
Yeah, I mean, it's a similar thing, and I find it. I find the books compelling, but I find that part of it a little frustrating. I must admit.
Check out these
books.
We've had talks about
Amazon.
this.
That's my heart and soul. You're attacking with a cleaver.
Oh.
All right, let's rank them. For me, it is 3, 2, 1. No, 3, 1, 2.
No,
that's not right. 3. No, 3 is the best. 2 is the second best. 1 is Death on the Nile is the worst. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, you're trying to say 3, 1, 2. I'm trying to say 2, 1, 3.
Yeah, okay,
I'm saying 1, 2, 3.
Wild.
Yeah.
Oh, that's nice. It's nice that we all have a diverse opinion.
It's been agreeing too much recently, so it's about time.
I agree. Yeah, okay, I guess we'll never agree on this. Poirot is interesting though, in that depends what you want out of the mystery. And it seems like none of us really want necessarily a great mystery. We want other things. Take with that what you will. I don't know.
Would we have a crossover of like Poirot and Benoit Blanc? I'd watch that.
That would be in the KBACHPMMM KOCU, like maybe. I don't know.
Maybe. We'd have to watch the Disney Plus TV series though first.
Young Poirot.
To find out how he came into this timeline.
Young Poirot.
I'd watch Young Poirot at war.
He's got like bum fluff, just like barely any hair.
He drinks milk in one scene and doesn't wipe the top of his mouth.
Peach fuzz. He's just like, this is a case for Young Poirot.
Oh yeah, I'd watch. Good. Yeah. All right. Cool. Well, look, let's end it there. Thank you all for joining us for another episode of The Good, the Bad, and the Worst. What are we doing next? We are doing June?
We're doing June 1 and 2.
June and 2, because who knows if there will be a third. But if there is, it will be a long way away. So might as well watch these 2 now and talk about them.
Yeah. Like we did this with Spider-Man, the animated one. We'll do it again when the third one comes out. So, but yeah, join us next fortnight for Dune Part 1 and 2. This podcast was brought to you by the books that I wrote. They have the perfect blend of horror and mystery, and there is anyone who thinks differently is
and the perfect blend of supernatural. Yeah, you're right.
Damn straight.
The gourd grotesque and the taste of iron.
That's it. If you like this podcast, please like, share, and subscribe. Go onto whatever platform you're using. Give us the highest rating. Follow us. It makes a huge difference. Please. Tell everyone else you know about it, and we will see you next time.
Yeah.